afternoon, everyone. Happy New Year. This is the Hillsborough TPO ITS Committee meeting. Call to order. Okay, call to order. Introductions. Do we need to do the introductions or just go straight to roll call?
Last time we just went around the table. If you want to go, we can just introduce and go around the table.
Okay, Gail, will you just take notes while we go around the table?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll go ahead and start. Margaret Kubelins is here from the City of Tampa, Chair of the committee.
Brian Gentry, Hillsborough County Co-Chair.
Jeff Sims, Environmental Protection Commission, Hillsborough County.
Pauline Castillo, City of Plant City.
Next, Corbin Hart, Transportation.
Brian McCarthy with the City of Temple Terrace.
And this is Vishaka Shivram, TPS staff.
Okay, do we have anyone online?
Yeah, Achilles Cortellis online.
Okay.
Edward Albritton, District 7 ITS.
I'm sorry, who is that? Oh, is that Ed?
It is.
Okay, Ed Albritton, all right. Anyone else? Gail, did you get all those?
I sure did. Thank you.
Okay. So do we need to vote for consent for remote member participation?
Yes, ma'am. We do have an in-person quorum, and I will take that vote of consent for remote participation today.
Okay. Oh. Does someone need to make a motion?
Yeah, we need a motion, a second, and then a voice vote.
Okay, so could someone make a motion for remote member participation?
I'll make a motion to vote for consent of remote member participation.
That was Brian Gentry.
This is Jeff Sims, all second.
Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None being heard, the motion passes. Okay, moving to item number 3, public comment. We have a few people in the audience. Or do we have anyone from the public online? Does anyone care to make comment? We open the floor. No? Okay, moving to item number 4, review and approval of the minutes. So our last meeting was held October 13th, 2022. The meeting minutes have been distributed. Did everyone have a chance to read those? Do we have any comments, recommended changes? No? None being heard? Okay, may we have a motion to approve the minutes from October 13th?
Move to approve the minutes.
Brian Gentry makes a motion to approve the meeting minutes. Do we have a second?
Second, Dexter Corbin Hart.
Dexter makes the second. All in favor of approving the minutes as proposed or as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None being heard, the motion passes. Okay, we have a few items here for action. The first is the FDOT Tentative Work Program and TPO Letter of Comment for ITS. Do we have a presentation?
We have Susan.
Good morning, or good afternoon, sorry. Can you guys, I don't know if you can make me, I was going to present on my screen to you guys, if that's okay.
Yes.
Okay.
We can make you the presenter.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Can you guys see the screen?
To the webinar? Yes.
Yes. we
Okay.
can.
Awesome. Okay. I'm trying to move you guys down so I can see the screen. Hold on. Okay. All right, so my name is Suzanne Monk and I am the District 7 Government Liaison for the Hillsborough County TPO. Today we're gonna sit and talk about the 5-year tentative work program. The years for this are going to be 2024 to fiscal year 2028. So these projects will be starting July 1st of 2023, and they're going to go until June 30th of 28. No, hold on. This is not going as planned. Okay, there we go. So just a little background on the district's work program. Right now, we are currently in the adopted cycle for fiscal year 23 through 27. It's a 5-year plan that includes all the projects listed below: public transit, seaport, ITS, design, right-of-way, and construction activities. So every year, the year falls off on July 30th of the current year of the work program, and it will come to an end, and we'll start, year 2 will move up to be the new current year. So year 2 will move up to be year 1. And as you can see on the screen, fiscal year 24 will be the new year 1, and it will add fiscal year 28 as year 5. Right now, we're looking to allocate projects in the new 5th year with funding, or adding projects to the new 5th year. These projects are based on the Florida Transportation Plan goals, statewide goals, and the local priorities. So currently, we are tentative right now. And what that means is, in the process, we have identified what projects are going to be funded in the new 5th year, as well as if we had any money that was available in the 4 years prior. So the also we'll have the new projects listed in the new 5th year as well. So this is proposed, and we are looking for comments from the committees and the TPO, as well as the public. Public comment was back in December 23rd, I believe it expired, but the TPO has until later this month to give us comments on this. So it's proposed, and it will go to the Florida legislative session early this year for review, and then it will be signed off by the governor. At that time, after the governor signs the work program, the first year will be included in the state budget, and the work program will be considered adopted. So when looking at our work program update cycle, so I know Ed's aware, and I know some of you, Margaret's probably aware too, we have a work program update cycle every year where we look at preserving the existing program. So any of the projects that are programmed in the tentative work program, or excuse me, the adopted work program, we look at those projects and we will do cost analysis, do new LREs, just to make sure that, you know, if the project cost goes up, we can look to fund those deficits and preserve the existing program first. Second, we would look at funding next phases of the projects. If we had, say, a design in 23, we would look to make sure that we have that construction funded 2 years later, or 3 years later if we needed right of way as well. And then lastly, we would look at any new projects that were a FDOT priority or a local priority, to add those to the work program. And like I said, we're looking at, during that cycle, we're looking at the MPO priority list. We're also looking at the regional priority list, which would be the SCTPA, the Suncoast Transportation Planning Alliance. Sorry, I'm losing my voice, I've been sick. They have a priority list, as well as a regional multi-use trail priority list as well that we look at. And then we also have the FDOT and the CIS priorities as well. So just a reminder, any of the next couple slides, we're going to go over projects that have either been newly added to the work program or newly funded phase projects, any deferred projects, or any projects of interest. If I haven't mentioned a project that you are previously aware of that we have funded, it doesn't mean there's any changes or it's not in the work program. It just means there's no changes at this time and it's business as usual. So you would find it in the actual tentative work program document in its entirety. So jumping right in, the first priority of the TPO is actually the transportation planning, which is, we add, I believe it's 600,000 of planning funds for them to do planning. So we added that in the new 5th year in 28. The next one, another Hillsborough priority. These are transit projects, the HART facility construction. We were able to add capital grant from fiscal year 24 to 26 into the facility for the new construction. Also, the bus stop replacements for HART, we were able to add capital grant in fiscal year 28. And then also we were able to add a capital grant in fiscal year 28 for HART bus replacements. The next are a few bike ped projects of interest. We have Marshall Middle School sidewalk and Tomlin Middle School sidewalk. These are actually City of Plant City projects that were, we received applications for transportation alternative funding. City of Plant City, we are going to actually implement the preliminary engineering and the construction for these projects as they're not lab certified. So we'll be doing these on behalf of the city. We'll be doing the design in 24 and then the construction in 27. And then another priority for Hillsborough County is the department's actually doing a Hillsborough County State Road Sidewalk Gap Analysis. And we're currently doing the analysis. We're about 70% done. And we are going to be working with, we've spoken with Beth and her team to try to get together and look at these high injury networks and come up with a plan as to how to fill these gaps on the state road sidewalks. I know some of them are on the high injury network, I believe. And so this is just saying that we've added construction in fiscal year 28, but there should be more information coming on those projects. The next one, Fowler Avenue from 56th Street to east of I-75. This is a Temple Terrace priority. I know Mayor Ross spoke about it at the TIP hearing. We were actually able to add design in fiscal year 24 and construction in 28. And this is to fund a sidewalk on the north side of Fowler all the way to the interstate. So that one should be getting started pretty soon and more information to come on those. The next two are Hillsborough County priority list as well. City of Tampa submitted LAP applications, transportation alternative, for the Green Artery Segment E and Segment D. These projects, we were able to move forward with doing the construction or programming the construction in fiscal year 24. And the city is actually currently working on finishing the design. Next up are complete streets. West Bush Boulevard from Northdale Highway to Nebraska. We were able actually to advance construction from 27 to fiscal year 26, which is huge. Also, we were able to add design in fiscal year 24 for the North Tampa Street, North Florida Avenue from Florabraska Palm to MLK Junior Boulevard, which is part of the Heights Mobility Plan. And then lastly, the City of Tampa submitted an SU application for Lois Avenue Complete Streets. And they're actually currently going to start design in fiscal year 26. And then the department has moved forward this cycle with funding the construction in 28. We also have a hot topic, West Shore Alliance. I know has asked a lot of questions along with the TPO about the Boy Scout Boulevard from Manhattan to Manhattan. This traffic signal and intersection, we were actually able to get the design underway last fiscal year and or this current fiscal year, and we were adding construction. We were able to get some funding for the construction in fiscal year 24. So we will begin construction on that project in 24. And then another one, the US 301 at Harney, Stacy, and McIntosh. These are going to be intersection improvements. We're going to add lights at these intersections, hopefully to try to slow down the speed and help with the problems on US 301. We were able to add construction in 24. Another US 301 at Palm River Road. This is a SIGP grant, which is a county incentive grant program. Hillsborough County applied for this and was granted construction funding in fiscal year 23. Two more operational is I-275 at Gibsonton Drive. This is going to be the new DDI. Down the PE, we were actually able to advance to fiscal year 24 from, I believe it was 26. So that's really huge. So, and then lastly, Big Bend Road from US 41 to Covington Garden, Simmons Loop to US 301. This again is another big project Hillsborough County applied for. TRIP funding, which is Transportation Regional Incentive Grant Program. And it just helps to relieve congestion off the state highway system. and we were happy to get them the 13 million that they needed for this project for construction in fiscal year 24. A few new projects, technology-wise. I don't know if you guys are aware that there is a national electric infrastructure program that the state of Florida has been looking at, trying to get EV charging ports throughout on the state highway system so that people will be able to travel throughout the state. With this one, I-4 EV charging deployment, this is actually, they're going to put out an RFQ to get I guess I'm not an EV charger person, but apparently there's different companies that will come in and put the chargers in. So the department is looking at actually these two locations, the area of I-4 and US 41 at 60. And basically the RFQ will go out, people will, the companies will put in a bid and saying where they think it would be logically and conveniently located. And then the department will work with selecting the right consultant, and then we will get it installed and operating. So I-4 would be fiscal year 23 and 24. And then US 41 at State Road 60 is going to be 24, 25. And you're going to see this throughout the state of Florida. There's going to be a lot of these coming up, but definitely more information on those coming. And then I-4 truck parking facility construction was advanced due to the info grant that the department received to fiscal year 25. So overall total funding over 5 years, $2.8 billion. And as you can see, it's broken down throughout the different areas. We do like to call attention to the ITS and to the bike ped. Those numbers look low when you look at them. We do have a lot of ITS projects that are being completed in conjunction with, say, a traffic operations project or a capacity project. So there's no way to, like, unless it's just a standalone ITS project, that's where they capture the 4.8. So there's not really a way for us to say, we know we spent more, we just can't break it down for you guys on here like that. So it's a little confusing, but I did want to point that out. Again, December 23rd passed for public comments, but I know that you guys are going to be reviewing the letter for the TPO. The MPO's objections are due January 22nd, and then in the spring, the legislative session will begin and FTC will review. And then after the governor signs off, adoption of the work program will be July 1st. Again, we just want to thank you guys for your time, and any comments that you have or any questions that you have, I can take at this time. This is our website if you want to go in and look at the website. There's no ways unless you want to submit some comments to me, but the website does have a lot more information regarding everything else. So, and we just want to remind everyone to walk wise, bike safe, and drive safely. So I'll take any questions that you guys might have at this time.
Thank you, Suzanne. Do we have any comments or questions? Jeff?
Hey Suzanne, this is Jeff Sims with the Environmental Protection Commission. You kind of covered it. I was really glad to see that the EV charging stations are now within the plan. And I realized from your description you probably don't have any details, but my main question was the one that's listed on I-4 and State Road 400. Do you know where that is going to be in a general sense? Is that going to be in Hillsborough County, or State Road 400 is kind of not very descriptive?
Those two are going to be, they're going to be in Hillsborough County for sure. So it gets a little tricky. So the way that they're really pots of money that are set aside for that area. So basically when the RFP goes out to these consultants and companies like ChargePoint, they're going to come to us and say, it's within that vicinity. So they're going to come to us with proposals as to where to put these charging stations and why it makes logical sense to put them there. I was told that it was going to be within a mile of the interstate. I'm not exactly sure. Like I said, there's definitely a lot more information coming out on these, and You know, we have April Combs. I don't know if you guys have had her speak at your ITS meetings, but she is actually running the show from central office, and she has a lot of the information that they've studied where these need to go in order to make sense for someone to drive an electric vehicle successfully throughout the state. So I'm happy to get more information to you if I can, but that's really all I have at this point.
Okay, I guess my general question was it going to be in Hillsborough? Because we're kind of tracking it a little, and you're right, and I don't know that it's exactly within the purview of ITS by description, but, you know, looking big picture, we need to ensure this technology and these people driving these vehicles have the ability for long-term transit, and it's a slow process to get all this rolled out, and there's a couple different elements, but I'm just trying to kind of keep a gauge on how many are being added and where they're being added, because we get questions from time to time.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, these definitely, I believe Pinellas is getting 1. Hillsborough was granted 2. That might change later. There might be more. I'm not really sure. We're starting with 2 that were identified in the plan. And I know Hernando is getting 2 as well. So I know they're looking at the highway first, and then they're gonna, after they implement the ones around the highway, I think then there's another set of charging stations that are going to be put out for bid. So yes, definitely Hillsborough is going to be getting 2 of them. Just the exact location is not known at this time.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions? No? Anyone online? No? Okay. So why don't we move to the next phase of the same presentation? Vishaka has the TPO letter of comments for ITS.
Hi, good afternoon again. This is Vishaka Shibraman, TPO staff, and I'm just going to be presenting the letter of comments. This is a letter that the TPO has prepared, which will show this is just a depiction of what programs have been reflected, have been in the tentative work program that come out of the Hillsborough TPO's priority list, which was updated in the TIP last year. So the projects which are in the tentative work program, you will see that some of them have come out of the Hillsborough TPO's priority list. And we would like to commend FDOT on that, especially the multimodal safety projects on heights mobility, the Dale Bridge to Nebraska Bush Boulevard project. We would also like to mention the US 301 intersections, which are operational improvement projects that were also in our list. 2 of the projects that were in Vision Zero category, which were in Plant City, are Marshall Middle School and Tomlin Middle School sidewalks, which were also in our list of priority projects. The projects from HART, which were in our top priority, were the HART heavy maintenance facility. That is also that is our top priority. And also the HART bus stop capital repairs and the bus stop improvements. Those are also included in the work program. And we thank FDOT for the partnership that led to the development of these projects. On the other hand, we did note that, and also the project that was recently mentioned, the new Navy grant project for the EV charging, that's a new project on the ITS technology front, which will help to bring in a lot of revenue also. We commend the department for that. We did have a couple of mentions that some of the projects that were in our list from last year for the CSX US 41 grade separation, which was not in the tentative work program, and we would like to see that project coming forward soon. So that is all my job was to present the letter of comments here. I can take any additional comments back to the TPO board because the motion here is today is to seek the approval of the letter of comments to the TPO board. If you have any comments, we can take it and we can summarize in this letter here. Thank you.
Thank you, Vishaka. Are there any additional comments? Anything specifically you want to call out with the projects that were presented?
I just have a general comment, because I know the US 41 CSX grade project is a pretty big deal, and that it wasn't, and I'm fine with the way the letter is written and stuff, but it's kind of more of a comment that we're disappointed. Should there maybe be a request to reconsider it, if that's still an option, rather than just say, you know, hey, we're sorry that you didn't put it in. I mean, you know, I don't know if that's out of line. It's your letter, you know, from TPO, but it just seems like if this is a tentative plan still, that means there's the potential that maybe it could be reconsidered and added in. So if that's plausible, that would make a recommendation that we ask.
Sure, Jeff. Thank you so much. I will take that request and I will work with my supervisor and
Okay.
that is the one who will be signing off on the letter. So we can try to include that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I also-
Others? Any other comments? Recommendations? Okay, go ahead.
This also, your agenda packet also includes the Turnpike Enterprise projects for the District 7. So this was on your agenda packet. If you had any questions for that, I can take that also at this time. We have a representative from FDE who can answer your questions as well. She's available online.
Oh, good. I didn't have any further questions on that. Did anyone else?
Summit Turnpike.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like most of the work is outside of this county.
Yeah, there are veterans and Sun Coast. There were 2 projects.
Yeah, there were 2 or 3, but yeah.
Okay. All right, well then, should we move to a motion? A motion to accept the letter with the consideration for a slight modification of verbiage in regard to the grade separation crossing. We have a motion for that.
Also, since I suggested, I'll make the motion
Okay.
to accept a letter with consideration for comments previously made about grade separation.
Okay, Gail, that was Jeff who made that, the motion. Second it? I'll second. Pauline's gonna second it? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None being heard, the motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item of business is the ITS Committee 2022 attendance review, declaration of vacant seats, and election of officers. Gonna leave that? You need
I can
to,
just bring up the.
okay, you're gonna bring up the attendance record. By the way, thank you, everyone. I mean, we've consistently had a full house here, and so I appreciate everyone's commitment to the conversation and participation here, so thank you.
Is this clear enough?
Well, we have it printed on the back of your agenda if you need it, otherwise it's up on the screen.
So as Chair pointed out, we had 4 meetings in last year. We moved from being a hybrid to in-person for the quorum. And there are a few vacant seats, and I did get some alternates for that. Mainly they were the alternates, and I've gotten the request for that. We will be filling them, considering for board approval. And we will be filling and updating this sheet. And we did not have any more than 2 excused absences to be considered as a before. So that's all I have for the attendance.
Okay,
Thank you all for attending the meetings.
must be the content, the agenda.
Now, Vachaka, I don't know if this is the right time. We will need to make a change because my alternate retired at the end of last year. So
Okay.
I have a new.
Would you send that to me as an email written so I can, that needs to go through board for
Okay.
the consent agenda. Thank you. I don't know if Gail has to make a motion here.
Well, did we make a motion? We just reviewed that. We don't actually make a motion about the attendance.
Okay.
I mean, it is what it is. It's just reporting back the status. That's my interpretation. Is that correct, Gail?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Gail, are we holding an election of officers for 2023?
Yes, ma'am. And those will need to be nominated, but a second is not necessary, but the person being nominated needs to consent.
Okay, so I don't remember how we do this, so just bear with me if you could.
So I
Okay.
can give you the recommendation of how we did it with the TPO board if you like.
Yes, would you mind that would be great if we would just lead this conversation. Thank you.
Of course. So we start with the chair, and again, anybody can nominate, and self-nominations are welcome as well. And if there is more than one nomination, we do a roll call vote, and everybody will speak their preference by name. And whoever has the most votes will then become the chair. And at that point in time, it's either the current sitting chair who can conclude the meeting, or the new chair can take over. Unless they're the same person, then it doesn't matter. And then we move to vice chair and officer at large in the same process.
So does that mean I'm supposed to say something? That's what you said.
Yeah, you can open up the nominations for chair at this point.
Okay, open up for nominations
For chair,
for chair.
this is Brian. I nominate Margaret Koopmans.
Is there a second, another nomination? None being heard. I'll accept it.
And since there's nobody else being nominated, then you are the chair for 2023. And go ahead and open up the nomination for vice chair.
Open up nomination for the vice chair.
This is Brian. I'll nominate Jeff Sims.
Well, I'm gonna nominate Brian, and this is not offensive, so I'm just going to say this because I chair another committee, which does take a fair amount of my time. So even though I know the vice chair usually doesn't get involved in the service, I think I'd rather stay second level out. Or getting ahead of that too, if somebody was interested in sitting as a quick official, that I might have no problem if they want to run for officer at large. But so as for vice chair, I would politely decline my nomination.
Okay, so that's how that works. Good to know, good to know for next year.
One time too late for you.
I know, right? Now I just have to commit that to memory. Oh, it's been recorded, so I'm good. Okay, do we have another nomination then for vice chair? Is it open?
Well, as mentioned, I nominated
Oh,
Brian
I'm
Gentry,
sorry.
so I have.
And so Brian Gentry is now the nominee. Do you have another nominee? Okay, Gail?
Okay, Brian Gentry will be our vice chair for 2023, and that will leave our officer at large.
We open the nominations for member at large, officer at large.
If nobody wants to do it, I'll nominate myself, but again, I'm happy for anybody else to.
I'd like to nominate Brian McCarthy. That be okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
What exactly does he do?
I mean, pretty much if both of them are unavailable, you would act as chair. It's our quarterly meetings. That's pretty much just it.
Yeah. You're in charge of the agendas.
Yeah.
Okay. Gail, do you have that?
I do. So Jeff, are you accepting your nomination as well?
I'll decline my nomination. That way we don't have to.
Okay, so then Brian McCarthy will be our officer at large for 2023.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Brian. You'll be chair and training. Okay, and takes care of that and that. Okay, and then we move into item C, which is the 2023 TPO meeting calendar. So if you look at the back of the agenda, which might be your fourth page if you're online looking at the PDF, we're in the 7th column for the ITS committee at 1:30. You can see we have 4 dates along there: January, April, July, and October. We had shifted the day within the month because we wanted to be more in line with the TPO board. So we were making our recommendations, so we weren't lagging, we were actually ahead of them. So we followed through on that recommendation. Any feedback on those dates?
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Well, I noticed that there are some other committees meeting offsite, whether or not the Hillsborough County Traffic Management Center would be willing to host maybe an opportunity for a tour and a meeting there.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we spoke about it.
Okay.
Sure.
I'll work with
Okay, so Bachaka will work with Brian Gentry on setting up one of these meetings to be way out in the middle of nowhere. Oh, I'm sorry. Just trying to keep it light. Yes. Okay. April or July. That would be great. I like that recommendation. You could show off your traffic meetings. It's good stuff. Okay,
Thank you.
all right. So do we need to vote to accept the calendar or we're just moving forward?
Yes, ma'am, we do need a motion to approve the calendar and a second and then a voice vote.
Okay, will someone make a motion to approve the calendar as presented?
Brian Gentry, I'll make a motion to approve the calendar.
Second it?
Dexter Corbin.
Dexter seconding. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None being heard. The motion passes. Thank you. All right, moving on to our two status reports. We have one, I'll just quickly go through the mobility as a service as an update. I do have a presentation. Can you do that? I didn't bring any technology. Well, it's pretty straightforward. So mobility as a service, if you're not familiar with it, worldwide, the aspirational goal is to have one app where you'll be able to plan your journey, you'll be able to pay for all the modes, and then you just ride through it. So on the fly, you'd be able to make changes as needed, and the accomplishment worldwide isn't quite there yet. So that was the aspiration when people came up with the concept of mobility as a service. What we do have is something that's very strong. So we went through a procurement process as phase one. This all was out of the Smart Cities Alliance, which many of you already know. And the city of Tampa volunteered to lead this effort. DOT is putting $150,000 into it, and then the city funded another $150,000. So we selected Move It as our vendor in order to help us through this process. And as we started the procurement, we originally were going to do it as a white label app. So basically, we were asking someone to use some technology they already had, but to set it up as a City of Tampa app. During that process, we discovered that the ownership of data was a very big deal. Huge, absolutely huge. And we also recognized that that was going to be a problem as we move forward into regionalizing this. So we're phase one. What the city of Tampa is doing is phase one. Phase two is to go regional. And so we recognized that, okay, this probably wasn't the best way. So we flipped it and made it what's called a consumer app. So basically, this is just a Move It app, and then they focus on the Tampa, I think they showed Tampa and St. Pete regional area. So that's the way we ended up moving. And then we just did the initial launch was December 12th, I think, 12th or 13th. So we just recently launched it. It is available. Just go to your Play Store on your smartphone, and you can download Move It. You can use it worldwide. They're actually a company that's headquartered in Israel. They've been working worldwide for a very long time. I actually don't know the actual date that they did their initial launch. And the slides that are provided are very succinct. So this is where we are right now. Again, right at the top, all-in-one mobility platform is the aspirational goal. Where we are currently is that you can still do the planning of all your journey in the app. So you can open up Move It, you say, I want to go from point A to point B. It will, Brian Gentry and I were just talking about this beforehand, like if you lived in Hillsborough County, we already have, HART has provided a lot of information to us, so we know where all the park and rides are. So it will give you directions on how to drive your car to the park and ride, or whether it's a walking distance or a bicycle. And if you had micromobility out there, you could use scooters as well, or you can use your personal vehicle. So that first mile, you could plan, it'll show you options. Uber, Lyft is also in there. Get to the park and ride, it'll give you options on which bus routes you could take. And then when you get downtown or wherever your close destination is, it will again give you options to get to your final destination. So you can do the full plan within this, with this app. Then you move into the pay part. So the pay is where the magic sauce is. That's what everyone's trying to figure out worldwide, is how do we make it payable within the app? Fortunately, HART worked with us very closely, and they brought in Token Transit in order to handle the payment within Move It. And Move It already had relationships elsewhere, so it was really a matter of just a couple weeks and it was done. And so it was really cool that they did that. So right now you can pay for all your HART ticketing within the app. And it's a really good app for transit access. Let's see, what else do I want to say about it? I think that's okay. So that's where you pay for it and then you just ride. Another benefit of using Move It, one of the things that they're really good at is like when they will tell you how close your bus is to you getting on the bus. They tell you whether it's in real time, they tell you how close it is. And then it will also, while you're riding, it'll ding you and tell you, it's like, oh, your stop is coming up. And so it'll tell you those kind of things. So it's very good. They've been doing this for a really long time, so it's been pretty exciting. We also have access to a lot of data. So we're going to be consuming a lot of data and be able to identify things like how many people are clicking out of this. So if you decide to use a scooter, you can still be in the app and then you can pay for your transit trip. But then when you click on your scooter, it's going to turn around and send you outside. So if you're using Spin, Lime, Razor, then it's going to just send you outside the app. You'll go ahead and pay for your trip there in the app, or actually once you get to your destination, then you have to find your scooter and then pay for it there. But then you can go back into the app and then you can finish your trip, or pay attention to when you're supposed to get off the bus. So it's pretty interactive. What's the next slide? Okay, go to the next slide. Yeah, go ahead. Okay, so the important part of what we're really trying to accomplish, as I mentioned, is about the first mile, last mile. So that's really what we're pushing. If we weren't pushing for the first mile, last mile, it would just be another application for transit use. That's it. Where we differentiate ourselves is that we keep pushing them really hard on addressing the scooters, bike, car, whatever, however you're doing your first mile, last mile. So what that is the plan paid ride we have with Move It on the transit component within that ride. But then again, we're trying to address the other two ends of the trip, the first mile, last mile. And then once you put it all in one, that's when you actually achieve mobility as a service. Again, it has not been solved anywhere in the world. So it's pretty significant for us to be playing this role. Now, what we're trying to do within the city, what this really means a lot to us, and it aligns with our goals, is that we're trying to make transportation more affordable for everyone. And when you do, we talk about the first mile, last mile, which is that purple length, that's your distance. But in transportation speak, when you're looking at distance for people, what's a reasonable walk, it's usually 5 minutes. So a 5-minute walk is about quarter mile. In urban planning, that's what you just rule of thumb. So if you're gonna ride a bike or ride a scooter, so your micromobility, it's about 5 miles, takes you about a mile. 5 minutes takes you about a mile. So now we're looking at how can we close these gaps that we have. So we just did a quick GIS analysis. We got GTF SB.
GTFS, yeah.
Thank you. I knew I knew. Okay, so we got the feeds, we got the maps from Hart as far as where all their bus stops were. And so we use that as the base of a map. This is just one little area of the city, obviously. And then what we did is we did the analysis in GIS and said, okay, where's the walk shed? So this is our quarter-mile walk, and you can see how close the we have people, we're serving all those households within that orange shed of the bus stops. But then as soon as we add that micromobility ride, we really cover a lot of the city. And so we're looking at convenience. That's usually one of the elements that makes people want to choose an alternate mode, is looking at convenience and reliability. And so we're getting on the convenience like this in order to have accessibility. But then the frequency, you know, that's where it makes a difference over time. As we continue to fund transit, this is where we're starting to get to those solutions, because we're never going to be able to build highways, you know, to accommodate all the car demand and mobility. So that's just my last slide. Do you guys have any questions? Yeah.
I guess that's assuming then that there's like a scooter available, like looking at the middle of the screen between Columbus and MLK. When you went to the previous slide,
Yeah.
there's a big vacant spot there. I'm assuming it's mostly residential areas.
Yes.
So are you also going to be asking the micromobility scooters to start putting in specific locations where you want to have scooter stops, I guess?
Yes, where we have hubs or corrals.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, absolutely. So we're combining that data with our vendors. So we have, I don't want to name them, but I think we have 4 vendors for scooters, and then, although that's kind of been a mess. But then we also have 2 vendors that are providing e-bikes. So e-bikes are kind of taking on another element or adding another layer of options for people. And then, of course, people have their personal e-bikes and scooters that they're, so we're just showing how there's a less expensive gap that we can provide to make transportation more affordable. I live in Tampa Heights. I have a lot of friends that keep saying, that talk about getting rid of a car. So now they're getting down to just having 1 car instead of having 2 like they used to. And they're replacing them with e-bikes or scooters. So they're making it more convenient. So that's what we're trying to accomplish. Ultimately, maybe with Temple Terrace, you know, if you have a hub of some sort, or out in the county, if there's a hub for transit or a park and ride, you know, that might be an opportunity where you want to look from, you know, moving out from that, you know, how are people coming in? So your 5-minute walk that's really convenient can be significantly influenced, so more households can reach the bus stop by having micromobility as that last month. The program is going on. We're soliciting, if you send an email to maas@tampagov.net, you can sign on to receive survey questions, about 3 questions once a month for 6 months. And we're going to be asking a series of questions about the expansion of the program and what it means. Like, if you're in this county, you know, how would you be using mobility as a service if you were somewhere else, you know, outside the city limits? And we're working with DOT on coming up with questions as we move forward. Because Move It takes in all kinds of stuff about functionality, but they're not carrying the vision for that long-term solution for the region. So.
Thanks, Mark.
You're welcome. Okay, thank you. Okay, so the next status report, we have the regional data platform called the Suncoast Mobility Hub. We've had a lot of people, I think everyone's familiar with the regional mobility hub that was coming up. I mean, the regional data platform that was coming up. So Alice Price from FDOT.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you, Vishaka, Madam Chair, newly elected, and ITS committee members. Thank you so much. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. And everybody, I hope, knows by now, I think I've been in front of this committee a couple times now. My name is Alice Price. I am General Consultant to FDOT District 7. Appreciate you having us today. I also have Lee Woodcock with us, who's also General Consultant to FDOT. He's going to be sharing his screen, Vishaka, if you could allow him to present, and then we'll be doing a little demo. And I have to say, I was a little concerned that we were last on the agenda, and I figured I would need to be pretty quick, but you guys went through things so quickly and so efficiently. I think I'll just take a long time on this one, right?
Thanks, Alice.
Not so. Well, let's start off. Let's make sure we get the slides up on screen first. I'm not seeing them. I'm not sure if any, oh, now here we go. And Lee, we're in presentation mode, so up on display settings, oh, there you go. Yeah. Up at the top under display settings, you can choose, yeah, just duplicate the slideshow. There we go. Okay, so as we get started here, we're going to just give a little bit of information similar to what we've given to other organizations around the region. We're very thankful, though, to this particular transportation planning organization for helping us champion this initiative right out of the gate. Many of you are members of our Tampa Bay Smart Cities Alliance, which has been in existence since 2017. And many of you know then that we had three main initiatives that we were focused on, three key themes, including reimagining infrastructure, mobility as a service, which you could tell the progress we've made as in Margaret's last presentation, as well as the regional data platform. And we appreciate the TPO for keeping that momentum going over the last 4 or 5 years. Many of you know about 2 years ago, FDOT decided to take the lead, take on the investment and continue the initiative by standing the system up in our own ArcGIS environment. So I noticed that FDOT Central Office was actually listed on the agenda. I just want to make that connection that DOT is working very closely with Central Office to make sure that this data platform is something that could be repeated around the state and certainly is compatible with the systems that they already have in place. Go ahead and switch the slide to the next one. And I know it's taken a little more time than we would have liked for it to, but we are excited that this will be a first of its kind approach to harnessing data and truly creating new insights, working in collaboration with our regional partners, focused on leveraging common data sources and improving safety and mobility regionally. Again, we're very thankful to the Hillsborough TPO for helping initiate that effort, and we hope to continue to build on that effort. It will build on existing investments that DOT, as I mentioned, is already invested in GIS and OIT environments, and also enable efficiency savings to be made in a data acquisition and performance reporting. And it will establish the very first work zone data exchange, which we'll talk a little bit more about in just a moment. Go ahead and switch slides. The purpose, of course, and the scope of the project was to develop a scalable platform that is 60GG compliant, that meets all of DOT standards. It paves the way on key issues such as third-party data sharing and system access, and is not dependent on a vendor proprietary system. We did come in, we've partnered with Urban SDK. We made them a subconsultant under the Atkins GEC contract here. And rather than them setting up their own system as they had in other areas, FDOT Central Office really wanted that to be a system that was DOT owned and DOT compatible. So we were thankful to Urban SDK for kind of altering the way that they would normally have executed this project in order for it to be more compliant and hopefully more scalable in the future. You can go ahead and switch to the next slide. So I mentioned the work zone data exchange. If you've driven anywhere in the Tampa Bay area, you know that you probably noticed the construction on many of our roadways. District 7 actually currently has over $6 billion in active construction projects throughout the region, and more are on the way. That doesn't even count the West Shore interchange. And over half of those are in our urban core. And that's just our projects. That's not even Tampa, City of Tampa or Hillsborough County or even the airports. We've been talking about the importance of a work zone data exchange to help us to better communicate not only among ourselves and with our utility providers, but also with the public. So those are the key benefits. And we're very interested in FDOT's recent adoption of its lane closure notification system. And we see that as a great step to automating our own processes and feeding this tool with shareable information from that lane closure notification system. Haven't figured out the mechanics exactly how it will work yet, but we're looking forward to being able to make that integration smooth. And we'll just go through a few of the benefits. Many of you know this. We're excited about a single data approach to data services. That'll leverage, again, the existing investments and provide some better insights and efficiencies. I know just internally at DOT, we often reference different data sources when it comes to safety or other key metrics. And, you know, internally, we're really looking forward to being able to pull from that same pot of information so that we're more consistent across our phases and from planning all the way through to traffic operations. We're looking forward to being able to streamline the data management and providing access not only internally, but also throughout our region. And, you know, a lot of these boxes that you see to the right of the screen are boxes that elements that we deemed most important as the Smart Cities Alliance several years ago. And those are still the things that we find important today. So scalability and a non-proprietary vendor system was very important to us. And we're looking forward to the future enhancements like predictive analytics and being able to integrate the mobility as a service application that Margaret just mentioned to further enhance safety and mobility of the system. And I think now we'll go ahead and just show you if Lee, you want to kind of take over, and he's going to pull up the system.
If the technology will allow me, I'll certainly try. So good afternoon all, and thank you for the opportunity. So can you see my
Yes.
web page?
Mm-hmm.
You can, okay. So a big caveat at the moment in terms of the development process. We are in the very early stage of working on the user interface. The department is upgrading their ESRI version, and once that's complete, we'll be able to enhance the user interface quite a lot, as well as implement some of the analytics and reporting functionality as well. So please bear in mind as I kind of run through where we're at the moment. So within the dashboard itself, there's an initial landing page, and each is focused really on the performance values. As you can see, at the moment, we've got a number of dashboards. So the idea is that once you've come into the landing page, then you'll be able to click on one of the dashboards, and here are some examples. So here at the moment, we're looking at speed and reliability. At the moment, leveraging SunGuide data. But ultimately, what we'll be doing is bringing in the British data feed here as well to complement this data. So what you'll be able to do ultimately as part of this, building on the kind of ESRI front end, sitting behind it will be a data lake. It's the first utilization of the data lake that the department's implementing a product called Snowflake for this kind of application. So we're one of the early adopters. So we will be able to run detailed analytics and also reporting and be able to kind of export those as well to PDF, Excel, etc. But here is just a simple introduction in terms of what it looks like at the moment. In terms of safety, similar kind of principle. Here we're using SunGuide data again, but we'll be looking to leverage the CARS data as well as the Signal 4 data as well that will be coming in. But we are dependent on that Snowflake instance being introduced. So you can see kind of some of the historic crash pages and responding. So you can see some of the historic crash data over time within the District 7 area. And similarly for transit as well, we're bringing in the GTFS data feed where we can start to publish some of the routes and stop information across the whole region. So as you can see, the user interface does need some work, but as we go through the introduction of the latest version of Esri, then that will come more to life, as well as the analytics and reporting piece as well. We're at a pivot point that we need to go through in terms of the data review with the department, and that will be an important pivot point in terms of how you guys can log on. We need to do a legal review of some of the data sources in terms of public accessibility and if there's any issues around that. For each of the data sources that we're looking at, if there are no issues, then the intention is that the dashboard and all the functionality will be public available, and you'll just be able to kind of access that through the department's open data hub. If we do have some legal issues around some of the data, and I think it's only probably one data set that we're potentially nervous about or considering, then we'll actually have to enable a logon process. But that's what we do day to day as consultants, logging into the department system. So not overly concerned by that, it's just another process that we'd have to consider. So I don't know if anybody's got any questions or queries on the early version of the dashboard as it stands, or any questions around Snowflake and the data lake itself, or the update to the user interfaces.
This is Margaret. So I had some questions. When it comes to the speed and volume data, I noticed that it showed a lot of the sensors, detectors that are on the interstate system, but I'm also familiar with the ICM corridors that are under construction currently, as well as probably a lot of roadside units being deployed with the I-4 frame, and all that being on local network. So does that mean that that data will be shared in the same platform? So at the local level, we'll be able to into like a specific corridor that we may be studying and be able to extract data from this?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the huge advantages of it's been established within the department's environment and on the Esri platform itself as well is that we're able to ingest data both more broadly across the systems within the department, but also externally as well. So as you talked about mass, and as Alice mentioned, that would be an awesome data source that we could also bring in as well, that we'd be able to kind of analyze as well and compare and contrast different data sources such as mass and speed and reliability, for instance, to get different insights. So those additional corridors that you mentioned, absolutely, if that data's available, then we'd love to be able to bring it in through a data service within Esri, as well as leverage that within the data lake.
Okay, and then similarly, if the local agency has, let's say, turning movement count data that has been acquired at different intersections, is this a place that we would want to be sharing that information? So would we make it available to others?
We'd love to receive your data. We need to receive examples in terms of the structure, but absolutely, once we've got that, then we can build the data service to bring it in. So if you've got examples, yes, please provide them either now or in the future, and we can bring those in, visualize them, but also analyze them as well going forward. And I think that's one of the important principles around the overall approach, building on, as Alice said, the yearly work of the TPO, and this is a regional platform. It's about collaboration and open integration. So the more the merrier, so to speak.
Yeah, Lee, Hillsborough County has some real-time turning movement count data utilizing signal performance measures and the iTerrace's Clear Guide platform. We could provide, just FYI. I did have another question, though. You guys have mentioned the work zone data exchange, and I was just wondering from that from the dashboard there, if that's wrapped up into one of the other icons, or eventually it would be its own icon.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. So the work zone data exchange, the kind of the coding that sits in the background will be a fundamental part of the data lake, and we're going to build out a user form, so users across the district can enter the work zone information, and then it will go into the exchange. And the work program tab, we're going to expand out to include work zone information from the work zone data exchange, as well as hopefully being able to bring in data from the lane closure system, the pilot project that is currently underway, to be able to also bring that in and visualize it as well. If there's external data source, I know Hillsborough County have got a really good system around lane closures that we saw last year. That's GIS based. That's also an opportunity to be able to bring in some of that work zone related information as well.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, that'll be great for the work zone data exchange. The city's in the middle of doing a procurement for right-of-way data management, and that includes the lane closure information. Because we find, a matter of fact, I just had another phone call today about we have the Southeast Seminole Heights flood relief project. So we're doing a lot of tearing up roads in order to get storm system. But while the road's torn up, we're also trying to do wastewater. But we're having to coordinate with the I-275 contractor. So anytime they're closing, they're having to close underneath the bridges, which are right on top of our detour routes. So we're having to it's just a close coordination, and thank goodness we have two contractors that are talking to each other on a weekly basis to update each other to make sure we're not stepping on each other and closing MLK as well as Hillsborough at the same time. You know, we need to, so it gets a little complicated. So this is a great platform to help us share that information simultaneously.
So Margaret, to that point, I really like the idea of, because this is a lot of information, right? And how we use it, it can be overwhelming to find those case studies. And I feel like the project you just mentioned, which is I know a city project, then we're going to have heights mobility work, going on out in that similar area. And then also, like you said, the 275 projects, those could be some great testing of how we work together. What is the duration of the project that you just mentioned? Is it a couple years, or are you going to be finished here pretty soon?
Southeast Seminole Heights, they're moving north. I think it goes into 2024.
Okay, so there could be some good overlap here in the next year as we get the system up and running to try to test some things out on some key projects.
Yes.
One more question, sorry. Any specific crash performance measures that you guys have identified? Obviously, I guess this is going to continue to evolve. I'm trying to get an idea.
Yeah, it's certainly around the safety dashboard there, Brian. We're building out all the kind of key performance measures that one has to report on. If there's others that you would like to see, and we can send you a full list of all the measures that we're looking. As I say, this dashboard's at the early iteration, so we've mapped out each and every performance indicator for each of those dashboards. So I can send you that, so you can, like I say, if there's something missing from your perspective, then we can look to build that in.
Awesome, thanks, Lee.
I'll take that as an action. Just going back to the work zone piece and the role of construction and contractors, I think that's a really important point going forward. I know some contracts are starting now to include specific language around being work zone data exchange specification compliant. It is a US DOT initiative, that's really important. And in doing so, that will enable the introduction of more smart work zone technology. And as a result of that, we'll be able to utilize those smart work zone technologies into the work zone data exchange and get an even more richer picture. So it is a fantastic foundation that we're building here, but early days for actually how it'll be used in anger, particularly going forward around autonomous vehicles as well in the future.
Sharing the information is important. And then, do you know how the mapping, like GPS vendors, how are they ingesting this information? Are they getting it from the work zone data exchange out of, like, through this? Well, maybe not yet.
I think it's a central office magic wand. I'm kidding, but we just had an interesting issue that one of our constituents brought to our attention, and I wasn't sure how that worked, Margaret, but definitely that coordination takes place through central office, and that's something we want to learn more about. So I don't know, Lee, if you know more about it, or maybe Ed, might know more about it, but it is something that I feel like has to be connected to the work zone data exchange conversation. Because they're the ones that'll push it out. Those are the apps that people are using, and we want to make sure that those best represent where people should truly go in our system.
The likes of Waze and Google, absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we do need to join those dots, but there are existing relationships that we can build on, and it's in their interest, obviously, to leverage this information.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I was at on the demo at the moment. In terms of next steps, I appreciate this is, like I said, strong caveats around the look and feel of the dashboard. We are working hard on the next iteration, but we do really welcome your feedback, and certainly the comments that we received today are fantastic. But if there's anything else that comes to mind afterwards, it's a shared program, it's a regional asset, it's all there for you guys to utilize. So please provide your feedback, and any example data sets as well would be awesome. But in terms of the further next steps, we need to enhance the user interface with our latest version of Esri, build out the aggregation functionality using the Snowflake data lake. Some good work has happened in the last 4 to 6 weeks around that, so I'm hoping that very soon we'll be able to establish some of that functionality, including the analytics piece, and completing the overall dashboards and reporting tools, finalizing the work zone data exchange, including providing the visibility of the form and building out the dashboard around the work program to show more specific elements around where work zones are located regionally. Then we'll be going through a phase of the end-to-end testing against the full set of user requirements, and then a soft launch, including user training. And hopefully, subject to the availability of the latest version of Esri, that'll be done in the next 6 to 8 weeks.
That's great. It's good to see that we're getting to this point. So it's very exciting. Thanks for all your work.
No, thank you for your time and support. It's absolutely critical.
Yeah, I'm sure this is our last conversation about this.
Now, we'd love to come back and show the final version
Sure.
and work through that. That'd be a fantastic opportunity.
Okay. Well, thank you. Really appreciate it. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right, next agenda, just old business and new business. Anything else to discuss? recommendations for topics for the agenda, presentations you've seen in other committees, or any professional societies that you think would be of interest to this committee? Just forward those to Vishaka or to me, or both. Both is more efficient. Okay. Anything else? No, this meeting comes to adjournment. Thank you.
What do you want?
We wanted a tour of the. Isn't it?